name is Aditi. I'm a product designer from Mumbai, India. And a year and a half ago, I applied to and got into my top choices for a design master's in the EU. And although it has been a while, I thought it would be useful to share my learnings from that experience. So if you're someone who's looking to apply to TU Delft's Strategic Product Design program, Politecnico di Milano's Digital and Interaction Design program, Aalto's International Design Business Management program, Umeå Institute of Design's Interaction Design program, I hope this video is of help to you. I won't be going application by application, but I will be sharing what I was thinking. I will show examples from my portfolio, speak a little bit about the structure I used for my letters of motivation, and also other parts of the application. So I hope this is of help. Alright, so before we get into it, I'll just tell you a little bit about myself. I have a bachelor's in human-centered design from an institute called Srishti, which is in Bangalore, India, after which I worked for about 2.5 years as a UX designer. Going into the applications, I had already kind of understood that I wanted to apply in 2 tracks. The design strategy track, so that was the strategic product design program at TU Delft and the IDBM program at Aalto. And the other track was interaction design, which was the digital and interaction design program at Politecnico and the interaction design program at Umeå Institute of Design. Each of these places, they asked for a PDF portfolio, they asked for a letter of motivation, they asked for your CV. You will have to take a language test if you are not from a native English speaking country, letters of recommendation. Some also had interviews. So it's like a configuration of different kind of sub parts that make an application. So the portfolio. Each institute asked for a PDF portfolio, but they all had different guidelines, be it the number of pages, the number of projects, the dimensions of the page, how many characters you can write for each project. It was quite overwhelming. But what worked for me was I treated one portfolio as like a grandmother portfolio. The portfolio I used to apply to Polimi, since that was the first application that I ever gave. With that portfolio in mind as a reference, the others kind of became slightly easier for me to do because they were all iterations and derivatives of this particular portfolio. I will show you my portfolio for the TU Delft Strategic Product Design program because I think it was the most information dense and comprehensive version of my portfolio. And I will also quickly take you through the portfolio that I used to apply to UID because that's where I am right now. Cool. So my portfolio for TU Delft, of course, I began by looking at the portfolio requirements, which are on their website. This is a screenshot from their website. Yeah, I have a non-Dutch BSc degree, so I went down that path on their website. And they're very clear about what they want in terms of the number of projects, having to show the design process as a whole, and yeah, very specific kind of information that they also want to know, like the title, when was it completed, who was your supervisor, was it an individual project or a group project, and also if it's a group project, to define your role. And yeah, portfolio size 20 MB, 30 pages, A4, and landscape. So these were the kind of things that I, of course, followed. So I chose my undergraduate thesis project and a professional project as the 2 main case studies, and a mix of academic, professional, and personal work for smaller projects. For this portfolio, I chose to show work that displays the different kinds of things that I have been doing. So quantitative research, qualitative research, data-driven design, creative computing, graphic design, and of course UX. And I was also very detailed about the kind of process that I followed because I had the freedom to write and explain what I was doing. I attached links wherever I could, for example, prototype videos. If you have public-facing work, like one of my projects, I attached a link there too. I would suggest that at least one of your main case studies should be an individual project that is done end-to-end by you. And now I'll go through my portfolio. This is a bit nerve-wracking because this is the first time I'm seeing this since I applied. This is the cover page for my portfolio for TU Delft. And on top you can see I have included the kind of work they can expect to see inside the portfolio. I have a little intro about myself, as well as, the kind of details that I put in my CV. And then, yeah, you go to the next page. This is my project listing page where I have 2 bigger thumbnails for my main case studies and then 3 smaller projects. I used tags to show what kind of project it was. So yeah, you can see this is my thesis project, this is a professional project, this was exhibited somewhere. And of course, all of these thumbnails are clickable to the particular page that the project starts with. So this is my first project in the portfolio, which is my undergraduate thesis project, and it was an app for vocational education in India. So it was an edtech app project. Name, description, tags for what kind of work was done. Again, the value props like logos, I think always good to have if you have collaborators of any sort. And then the kind of info that they wanted about if it was an academic or group project, when was it completed, who was your supervisor, so on and so forth. So that was the purpose of this cover page. Because they wanted to see the whole design process, I used this tag kind of structure to show them the progression. And yeah, essentially just the pages followed about the project, research, secondary research, primary research, ideation, your IA, prototyping, user testing. I feel like it's super important if you have any engagement with people. Definitely show pictures of people. It really makes a difference, I feel. This was the kind of flow of my project, and a last screen of mockups. So this was my first project and it was 9 pages long, and I feel like I did a pretty thorough job describing my process. So my second project was a professional project. I essentially revamped the search feature, and fortunately it's a live feature, so I was able to take screenshots and document how it works. Same purpose of the cover page, and again I use these tags to show progression, just going step by step with the process that I followed. Wireframing, what is new in the solution, and lastly mockups, but of course also a link because it's a live feature. So that was my second project. Moving on, this is a smaller project and I incorporated it because it was specifically a strategic branding project for a pickle company in India. Although visual communication and graphic design is not my strong suit, I thought it tied well to the program, so I incorporated it. It was a smaller project, so I didn't feel the need to be putting like the tags to show progression, but it followed the same structure. So it was about the project, what I did, ideation and sketching, and lastly an idea of my final outcome. This is also a professional project where I was redesigning admin dashboards. Again, about the project, what I did, and what was the outcome. And lastly, I incorporated this tangible computing section where it's actually 2 projects. One was exhibited, so I put a tag, and the other one was a personal project. I think because it's something I really like doing, I put it in my portfolio, even though it may not have so much to do with strategic product design, to show the committee that I enjoy working with multimedia. And this was essentially a flame painting robot, Arduino controlled. And I incorporated a link to essentially a Vimeo video of how it works, and also mentioned that it was exhibited. I feel like if you have things that are exhibited, published, like just go for it. You are selling yourself. Sell yourself. And this was a personal project, so it was just a 1-pager, pictures, and then a link to a video. That's about it. And I said thank you. Thank you for looking at my portfolio. And that's my portfolio for TU Delft. All right, now for my portfolio for UID, the Interaction Design Program. This is again a screenshot from their website. And you can see that they have some very specific guidelines about the number of samples, the number of pages, the fact that they want 1-pagers for most of the projects, but maybe 1 or 2 of the projects can be 3 to 4 pages long. So yeah, it was a little bit of mental gymnastics, but it was also really fun because the most challenging part was that they said that you can have only like 1 paragraph of text. And it really made me think about what was the point of what I was trying to convey with this piece of work. What actually really helped me with this whole portfolio was a video that UID uploaded on their YouTube channel where they get the program directors together and they ask them questions. And I saw one of these in time, luckily, while I was prepping my portfolio. And they mentioned that, oh, there's a porcupine! Hedgehog. Hedgehog. Right, so like I was saying, it was really helpful for me to see this video on UID's YouTube channel where all the program directors got together and they were asked a few questions about what they want to see or what they expect from portfolios. They were super forthcoming in saying that we are not looking for perfection. We are looking to see who benefits from being with us over here. So super encouraging. And I would suggest that for any university that you're applying, definitely check out their own YouTube channels and social media. Cool. So this is my portfolio for UID, where this is my cover page, and this is like my flame painting from the flame painting robot with just a blue overlay over it. I thought it was cool, so I put it as my cover page. And then I also had one of these pages, hey, I am so and so. My projects page is a bit plain, but I incorporated 10 projects, and again I used tags like this to make certain projects stand out. My undergraduate thesis, and this is like a super condensed version of it, which is about 4 pages, but it's the same process as TU Delft, but super condensed. So I think that going through Polimi and TU Delft really helped me make this because it gave me an idea of what is the most important information to retain. Similarly for my professional project, it's like a snapshot essentially of the larger thing. And again, I included a link to the website. Now the one-pagers. So the one-pagers were really interesting because for UID, I had to include a lot more projects than the previous portfolios. And you will see that not all of them are very refined. And I have come to understand that that is okay. So this was, my creative computing project, the flame painting robot. This is my cover page. And then yes, a link to the Vimeo video. Same thing, tiny paragraph, Vimeo video. Same thing, pictures, tiny paragraph, 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 and pictures, tiny paragraph. I started giving captions to images, which was kind of important considering that the text itself is super small. And I also wanted to show them, because I had the opportunity to with these smaller projects, right, with 8 to 12 samples, is that yes, I do have a specialization, which is UX, but I also have a breadth of work or interests that I may not be very good at yet, and I may not have perfected, but I nonetheless enjoyed doing this kind of work and I learned a lot. I think it is quite important to show that you're okay with working with different types of media, both high and low fidelity. And that's essentially what I try to do with this portfolio. So yes, this is my portfolio for UID. Like the portfolio, each institute had different requirements from the letter of motivation, and I found myself sticking by those guidelines which were already available on their websites. The shortest one I wrote was a page for Aalto, and the longest one I wrote was 1,000 words for TU Delft. And things like character limit, word count, page limits, these changed a lot. So what kind of really helped me with the letter of motivation was having a kind of structure that I used for each of these letters. So the structure that I used for my letters of motivation began with, of course, a short opening paragraph about which program I'm applying to and why I'm applying to the program. Now this why is of course very subjective, so it could be about what you want to do in the future after having this degree, or what skills you want to learn through this program, so on and so forth. So that's of course entirely up to you. I follow the opening paragraph with a paragraph about my background, which ties back to why I think that this particular program at this particular institute is for me. I then speak about some instances of work that is also present in my portfolio, maybe 1 or 2 examples, and talk about what these projects kind of taught me. So let's say this project taught me about design research or design ethnography, and then working on this project taught me a lot about cross-functional collaboration. And at this point in the letter, specifically for TU Delft, I incorporated one of their requirements, which was 3 potential thesis topics. So 3 paragraphs talking about one topic each in brief. And then now back to the general structure again. I then spoke a little bit about specific courses within the program that I was really looking forward to. And I think this is particularly very important because it shows the committee that you have done your research and that there is something that you are looking forward to learning. I'd speak a little bit about internship or exchange or networking opportunities that come from being in this institute, and also about how you intend on using specific facilities at the institute. I know that UID has a 24/7 kind of open workshop. So if you have these kind of tidbits that make you want to apply to this place, very facility wise, also go for it. If you have the space, you can talk a little bit about your extracurriculars and how they've shaped your outlook. And lastly, a conclusion which reiterates your drive, why you are a good fit for the program, and what you aim to make out of being here. And in classic Aditi fashion, I'm addressing this right at the end because I totally forgot about it. The intro, like how you begin your letter, in the sense who you address. I've seen a lot of advice online about, oh, you really should hunt down specifically who you're going to write to. I found that incredibly difficult, and I just stuck to Dear Admissions Committee, and it worked out well. And that's the structure I followed for all of my letters of motivation. For this CV, TU Delft says that the Europass structure is what they abide by. Basically, like your work experience, your education, your skills, tools, if you have publications, languages, which you will find online. So I basically used that structure, but just designed it on Figma because for the application, I don't think they're going to put your CV through an ATS. If you come from a country that's non-native English speaking and your program is in English, you have to give a language test. I gave the IELTS, and I gave the IELTS well before my application cycle even started, so I did not have to worry about when the score is coming, and just one less thing to worry about when you're preparing other parts of your application. I would recommend that because I think IELTS has a 2-year validity, so you have breathing space. In general, the lower and upper limit of the scores that were asked across the universities, now each of them may have different brackets, but in general, it was between 6.5 and 7.5 out of 9 for the IELTS for reading, writing, and speaking. Letters of recommendation were optional parts of the applications that I gave, but I did decide to incorporate them. I had 2 types, a professional and an academic LOR, and I was also lucky enough to get 2 of each, just to be safe. On the academic side, I was able to get LORs from my thesis supervisor and another professor at my bachelor's institute. And on the professional side, I was able to get LORs from my direct supervisor as well as the VP of product at the company I was working at. Some universities mention what they expect to know about you from the LORs. If you're able to brainstorm with your recommender about what you want to put in the LOR, definitely make use of it because you're still making a case for yourself. Say your recommender is able to write about how you'll fit into an interaction design program in one letter and how you'll fit into a design strategy program in another letter, that would also be very valuable. But in my experience, general LORs also worked pretty fine. But I think what's more important is that your LORs are pretty close to the date of application, because application periods can range from like 4 to 6 months, right? So if you do have the chance, don't shy away from asking your recommender to amend the date on the LORs. I sat for 2 interviews, one for the IDBM program at Aalto and one for the interaction design program at UID. The panel already has a reference of who you are. They've seen your portfolio, your CV, your LOM, sometimes your LORs, and I think that the interview is a chance for them to see who you are as a person behind the application, which I think is really nice. I think I enjoyed my interviews. I was super nervous, so I did reach out to my professors at my bachelor's institute because they often interview candidates, so I asked them for their advice. Super, super helpful. Highly recommended. And I also reached out to alumni and current students at the programs that I was interviewing for their advice. To go over my portfolio, of course, and highlight a few points about each project that I would want to potentially explain or talk about. I also went over my LOMs for both these institutes to talk specifically about what I aim to learn from my time at the institute and what I envision my journey to look like. I essentially made flashcards that basically followed the structure of my LOM. So, why this program? Why a master's? Why this institute? My background, short term and long term goals, courses I'm looking forward to, things I want to do, stuff that excites me, what inspires me. You already kind of have that. You've been doing that your entire application. So for the interview, it was very easy for me to make these flashcards. I also did look up who could potentially interview me. If you are the person behind the application, I think it's equally important for you to know who are the people behind the program. For me, it really helped me calm my nerves down and I was a bit more mentally prepared. So during the interviews, in general, for both of them, I was kind of asked to introduce myself, to speak a little bit about specific projects. So in the Aalto interview, they asked me to speak about my bachelor's thesis project from my portfolio. At UID, I was given the option to choose a project from my portfolio to talk about. Both asked me what I wanted to learn, and the Aalto panel specifically asked me what courses I was looking forward to. I was also asked about what I would want to do after the program, a rough idea, and of course, any questions that I had for the panel. So, what I thought I did well was that I was able to talk about my work concisely but also comprehensively, thanks to the flashcards. I was smiley, although they were not always smiley back. So, that was a bit unnerving, but I think I was pretty charming. And because you've put in so much of your hard work into applying for this place, you will naturally have meaningful questions to ask them. So make full use of the "do you have any questions for us" part of it. Ask them. Ask them what you want to ask them. What I thought I could have done better, I think I could have spoken a bit slower, and I also had a tendency to ramble. I could have just stopped talking when I didn't have something to say, which I'm going to do now. I will speak very briefly about scholarships and funding, because it's a whole different ballgame. So some of the most important things that are of note. I was researching scholarships and funding while I was researching these institutes, so I highly recommend doing that. Are you supposed to prepare a scholarship application while you're preparing your main application, or do you have to do it afterwards? Do you have to provide additional documentation or write-ups like a motivation or why you need a scholarship, to supplement your scholarship application or not? Are you eligible for more than one type of scholarship? Because some universities will have a main scholarship but also a department specific scholarship. So make sure that when you're applying for scholarships that you apply for each and every one that you are eligible for. And lastly, are there any external sources of funding, maybe from your home country, that you can apply for? In India, some of these examples are Inlak Shivdasani, KC Mahindra, RD Setna. They also provide scholarships for international students. So if you have such organizations in your country, make sure to apply. Great, so we've reached the end of the video. I will just say a few more things. I know it's been a long video, but just to wrap up. Firstly, I would highly suggest that you take your time researching the kind of programs you want to do, where you want to do them. Incredibly personal decision. If you're not sure of anything, check out online resources, go on Reddit, check out videos, but most importantly, reach out to people. More often than not, they are very, very willing to help. Take your time in creating your application. I personally felt that it was better to be safe than to be sorry with regards to adhering to guidelines, for like the portfolio or the LOMs. Some places are way stricter than others. You don't know which committee is going to be strict and which committee is not going to be strict. You're applying to learn. The admission committee wants to see what your attitude towards learning is and what you aim to learn from your time at the institute. So it's okay if you are not great at everything. And lastly, it's okay for everything to not go perfectly. And I know that it's hard, but you have to believe in yourself. And with that, thank you so much for watching. I hope that this video has been of help to you. I wish you all the very best for your application journey. I will put a link to my website in the description, so I hope to keep in touch. All the very best.